With Death Battle's Gru vs Megamind coming out, I've seen a lot of mixed feelings about the episode. Some love it, some hate it, but you read the title so you know what camp I fall. Now, will I say this episode is perfect? No, I will not. There are some issues, but that's what this video is here to discuss. Enough of your waffle, we ain't got time to eat, let's go! First, let's talk about the analysis. Now, to get one of my issues out of the way, outside of not name dropping the absolute GOAT El Macho, is the fact that Megamind's analysis generally had no calcs until the conclusion, which I have to admit, I don't recall the last time an episode of this show did that, and it made me skeptical on what I thought they'd say about Megamind later on. However, despite that, I think the analysis was good for what it is, being a brief description of the characters and what they did in their movies and TV shows, along with the arcs that they go through, with a bit of information about the minions as well, as they are a core aspect of Gru's arsenal. And I don't really think that they intruded much on his own analysis. To me, they didn't feel like they hogged the analysis at all, as they took up around 1/3 of Gru's analysis. Overall, it was really neat, and really got across who Gru was and the amount of insane stuff they had on him. This also applies to Megamind. I believe the analysis did as well as explaining him as Gru in terms of story, minions, and arsenal, outside of the obvious hiccup with the calcs I mentioned that earlier. While the editing is a bit less notable as in other episodes, for all intents and purposes, I really like what they cook here overall with the analysis. The fight is something that I generally think is overhated in lots of ways. Now, one complaint I do get is the fact Minion did next to nothing in the fight. Now, do I get why? Yes, I do. Minion basically had to be re-rigged to even be used in the fight at all, so they were basically limited with what they could use for him. Not to mention a lot of the animation going to other stuff like the brain bots and the minions themselves, which due to the amount of them that there are, would require a lot of time to be put into it. That, combined with all the re-rigging needed to make Minion have animation time that he did have in the first place, it's clear that there were multiple production problems that resulted in the lack of appearances that Minion had. Granted, this does not help him clear the fraud allegations of 2026, but it does explain his lack of involvement in the fight. Now, what happens in the fight itself? Let's go over that. The fight takes place around Metro City, with Gru in pursuit of Megamind, believing him to be a villain. Megamind says,
"Ooh, and here I thought it was the hero who chases the bad guys!"
Which doesn't help his case at all, but during the fight, both Megamind's hoverboard and Gru's vehicle get shot out of the sky, causing the fight on a rooftop with a fair jug of banter about Gru's weaponry, color scheme, and minions. However, Gru lacks the one thing that makes him stand out from Megamind.
And what might that be? Presentation!
This shot apparently made one of the animator's computers turn into the sun with the level of heat it was causing to it. Gru whips out the minions in order to play some music, played by Stuart according to the script. And this is where I talk about Despicable Minds, the track of this episode. And while it's not really a track I listen to in its entirety, the part during the light show with the Brainbot is the part of the song where I go to the most, because that's where the song is at its best, and a bop at its absolute finest. I really like what Feral did with the overall track, even if I don't see myself listening to the full thing over and over again like the other songs. I just really like that disco part, and I wanted to mention that in particular for, well, I wanted to give praise to the episode, obviously. This is also where we see Minion for the final time in the fight animation, just watching the Brainbot scrap with the minions. Which doesn't really surprise me, given Minion's involvement in fights is kind of 50-50, but given he is literally the reason why the most iconic scene in the first Megamind even happened, it makes sense that people wanted to see more of him. After a bit of spectating, Gru is grabbed by Megamind's brain bots, resulting in a funny exchange.
You dare challenge Megamind in my own monstrosity? Do you even know who I am?
Well, life is full of disappointments.
Hey!
You're not really playing the game right. You're supposed to...
After this, we get a pretty neat showcase of the minions backing Gru up, as Tim, Dave, Jerry, Gus, and Mel all band together to form a slingshot projectile to get Gru out of the predicament he's in. Although he gets shot by the dehydration gun. Wow, Megamind actually used it. That's a first. Granted, afterwards he gets nuked off of orbit, loses the fucking gun, and Gru gets turned back to normal via Jerry's saliva, so that went well. But as it turns out, Minion was charging the death ray.
Getting there!
Oh bloody hell. When it charges, Gru grabs whoever the laser minion is, I'm too lazy to check by this point, to deflect it. Megamind thinks he's won, but nope, Gru comes out with a jetpack and also the minions, noting that no matter what, the good guys always win, and reverses the logic back at him. However, Megamind retorts that
This is
he,
all a
villain,
big
is a misunderstanding.
misunderstanding.
Whoa!
Huh?
Oh, work is going to kill me for this.
So yeah, the minions set the D-gun to disintegrate, because the last thing it was on was the hydration by Megamind himself using it on Gru before getting nuked. This minion is the sole reason a childhood got ruined. So yeah, the anti-villain link is 100% killing Gru for the minion's crime. What the hell? So basic synopsis over. What did I like about it? Well, obviously, I found the episode pretty funny. It definitely captured the witty humor and nature of both characters down really well. A lot of the jokes definitely added to the overall episode, namely the one where Gru admits he just doesn't know who Megamind even is, only to be countered with his accent being horribly butchered. Speaking of accents, time to discuss the voice actors. Gru's voice actor was Keston Howard, who previously voiced Death Battle characters like Captain Falcon and Super Friends Aquaman. And while it took a bit for me to get used to it at first, I think he did a very good job at portraying Gru. At times, even nailing the accent his character is known for, which is honestly really impressive to me, given that getting a good accent is really hard, given I'm not from Russia, where I think getting his accent done will be really easy. Nor am I from The Office. Lewis, one of the lead animators of the episode, was the voice actor for all the minions. And yeah, I just think he did a good job here. None of the voices stand out from each other, which is kind of what I wanted, given the minions basically sound the same in a nutshell. Now, Megamind is voiced by Corey Wilder, who hasn't had a previous role in Death Battle, but looking on the IMDb page, this shows that Corey has voiced in other works such as Super Hero X, Blue Lock, but most importantly, Focus Skill Fruit Maker, about that time I became able to eat unlimited number of skill fruits that kill you. Oh, and Nav too, because that's also important. Granted, Corey's voice compared to Will Ferrell's is a hard one to top, and while I don't think that I hit the high notes of Will Ferrell's, for what the Megamind voice was, it was good on multiple occasions. I gotta say, they did a very good job as Megamind in this episode. Minion was voiced by Colin Nelson. From what I know, they aren't exactly a voice actor per se, since their IMDb page doesn't have much to it. But for all intents and purposes, their Minion voice was pretty good, and he's even proud of it, which is all I wanted to hear in my book. All in all, good voice work all around from everyone here. I will say one thing, since it's all about Gru a tad bit. I low-key do not mind the models used here. Now, Gru doesn't have like any good models out there to use. The only typical Mii games that I know that they could take the model from were the PS2 game and the Wii game that I oddly own. Despite that, the models in both games aren't really the best, so you have two games with bad models, so a custom one isn't really out of the ordinary. Now, does the model used look weird in some places? Yes, it absolutely does, but there are shots where the model 100% looks genuinely not that bad. Apparently, some people were talking about wanting DA back after the sneak peek where they saw this model, to which I say, silence ye harlots! You can't complain about DA being gone when you're the reason why he left, you pricks! Overall though, I like the model for Gru. Megamind, Minion, and the minions themselves don't really have anything new for me to say, given no one really complained about their models from what I've said, so I like them as much as everyone else. Now, one complaint you will see people say a lot is the whole we barely got to see their arsenals, and there are a few things I gotta say to this. One, considering how these two are in the main series, I really doubt they'd have as many weapons as they do in the analysis, especially considering a lot of the weapons would be in a secret lair of some kind, somewhere that, given the setting of the fight, they have no access to. Granted, something like Lucy's lipstick taser would have been neat, but with what was there, I think what we got was pretty good. And two, in my opinion anyway, going to another episode here, as godlike as Bowser vs. Eggman was, I genuinely think it set the bar way too high for both army fights and high arsenal fights, that people just assume that with every other fight that's either an army fight, a high arsenal fight, or a mix of both would result in another Bowser egg. I see similar complaints with Tom vs. Wily being not having their full arsenal to use, and I have to say the same thing there. With what was used, that fight was fun and enjoyable. I don't need the character to use most of their arsenal just to feel satisfied, especially since these characters are who, despite a wide array of inventions, don't usually carry all of it with them. With all the weapons that we saw in the episode, I'd say it showcased all the charm of both characters well. Speaking of their charm, this genuinely felt like an episode that captured what made both Despicable Me and Megamind such good films in the first place. All the charm and what happens in the movies are all there. with the back and forth banter being funny, Gru not even knowing who Megamind is, which goes against the model that he's pretty used to, the minions being genuinely there for Gru and clutching up when needed, the ending being anticlimactic, making sense given that Gru didn't even expect to kill Megamind, despite it being that minions burst. All adds up to Gru Mind being what makes the death battle unique at times, being a crossover between two characters from different series, but sticking true to what makes both of those characters and series brilliant in the first place. That's the overall fight. I just find it really funny, and while a few arguments like minions lack of involvement do make sense, and for arguments like Gru and Megamind not having a lot of their gadgets or the animation quality not being the best, aren't really reasons that I agree with to critique the episode, since I personally don't really see those issues. The conclusion? It certainly existed. At least go over the fact that this matchup was not a stomp, and there were even a lot of ways. I've heard a lot of things about this that I don't think I'm quite qualified enough to talk about. Outside the mountain burning lasers somehow being better than the nuke because it's exaggerated for comedic purposes. Okay, brother, can we come a better excuse for a debunk? And when I say that, I don't mean, oh, but the brain bots beat the minions. No, they don't! You can have the numbers all you want, but what do the numbers do when you can't even kill the main minions? When they're not only indestructible, but also when they're not only destructive, but also basically indestructible. The brain bots just can't defeat the minions fast enough in combat for the numbers to even matter. The next time note is peak. When I said I'm not qualified enough to talk about the conclusion, I meant it. I'm not a full-time Versus debater, I just go off what I find online. I am the walking law for Versus debaters. Now, I still stand by what I said. This episode was pretty good to me, and the rating of this episode for me is a very good 7 out of 10. As this felt like a genuine crossover between the combatants, and while I am considering putting this above Ichigo vs Yusuke on my ranking, I'm sorry, but I don't get how Bakugo vs Reze has more fans than this episode from what I've looked into. It is genuinely the most blatant, neon sign in your face 5 out of 10 episode of this entire season so far. Now, obviously people share that same sentiment about Bakugo vs Reze, but put Gru vs Megamind at a 2 out of 10, which I think is a massive overreaction. Sure, there are flaws, but 2 out of 10 levels of flaws? Come the fuck on, dog. We have been trying to hide a lack of whimsy. Unlike me, the whimsiest whimsy to ever whimsy. Ignore that. Anyways, that is basically my thoughts on this episode. I found it a fun time and overall was a blast to go through. The aids towards the episode honestly feel super forced to me. And this is being the worst of the season, when literal mid exists, is insane to me. Anyways, yeah, I got nothing. I'm gonna go beg my fans to not force me to play Genshin Impact for Lisa's material. I'll see you all next time.